Hi, I'm Jason Clark from Minds at Work.
And I'm Lisa Smith from Minds at Work.
And today we want to look at the application of creativity in problem solving. So Lisa, imagine I've got a problem and I've understood it. You've got me to ask, what is it? You've got me to think about, why is it happening? What's the next step?
The thinking that we want now is not what and why, it's what if and why not.
So this could be one of those places that you've talked about before where the mindset that can move us along may have to sort of share the burden or share the opportunities with a different set of minds or a fresh set of minds. Because if the first one is very, analytical and precise and meticulous, this next one seems a little bit more playful and carefree and, a bit irreverent. Are there any sort of specific rules or tips or tricks that I could use to get us into that creative mindset?
I'm really glad you asked. So rule number 1, speak before you think. Ideas breed other ideas, and we don't need things to be overthought. So just blurt it out there, just have fun with it, suspend judgment completely.
But I've seen you do this, and I try to do the same thing. We go, yep, great, what else? And what else? Great, good, what else? So try not to give any sense that you think that's a 10 and that's a 0, because we shouldn't be having that conversation. We should just be embracing everything.
Rule number 3 is don't over-explain. You've got that idea, it's in your head, you're excited by it, you can see how it's going to work. So you then spend the next 10 minutes explaining the detail of your idea to everyone. Your group's going to end up with just one idea.
So you've got to fight the temptation to really explore and play in an idea. We're not doing that yet. That'll be in the development phase.
And that leads us to the 4th and final rule, write it down.
Yeah, just capture it anyway, because we don't want to lose anything yet.
How would I work out when enough was enough?
If you say to people, look, you've got 5 minutes and I want 50 ideas in those 5 minutes, that tends to set the tone and the expectation where it should be. I might let them go for 7 minutes or 10 minutes. Rarely will I let them go for 15 minutes because I feel like the heat goes out of it. That would be the way I'd look at it. Now, if you come up with 30 ideas in 7 minutes, or you come up with 100 ideas in 2 minutes, I'm happy with all of those results. This is almost a universal experience when we let people brainstorm. And I'll say, now, if this is the strangeness of your ideas and this is the time elapsed, what was the trend line? They all tell you the same thing, that we started cautious and conservative and guarded, and then we started to loosen up and trust each other. And that's as you see the ideas getting stranger and stranger and stranger.
Because if you start looking at that, this bottom group of ideas will have seen it. This is how another group is doing it. I've borrowed an idea from something. I'm going to add something to it, take something away from it.
There's nothing wrong with starting with something that is proven and just improving it.
And then you've got these ones right up at the top end, which are really fantasy land. Weird stuff, big, it could never happen, or we could never make it happen. It's freaking me out.
Could you tame it? Is there something kind of cool in the idea, but you wouldn't literally execute it that way? Is it possible that there's a way in which we could honor this wild idea without literally doing it? It's very cool. The real value is in the middle there. I'll find if I'm looking in the middle of that curve, I'm finding things which are really exciting and doable, which is my favorite combination.
It's easier to tone down a crazy idea than to tart up a standard one. So tone down as your first strategy and tart up as your second if you've just got no choice. This is our friend -1. We love this tool. It's just about imagining that you've lost something essential and seeing where your mind will go.
What is it, if we were to run a restaurant, what do we think we absolutely have to have? What is essential?
Okay, so you cannot have a restaurant without food, customers, staff, location, kitchen, crockery, loos.
Water, electricity, gas, a building, some understanding of food. You have to have this. But you and I have seen what happens when we break people into teams and we'll say, okay, this team over here, we want you to come up with a concept for a restaurant, and you can have anything that you want, but you cannot have customers. And you see them freak out. And then you see them go, Okay, who says we need customers? What is a customer? You can see the wheels starting to turn. And over this group, you've got no power. And this group, you've got no building. And this group, you've got no crockery. And over here, you have no food. And what have we seen happen, Liz?
If you can't bring the food to the restaurant, you bring the restaurant to the food. The restaurant is actually on the farm. But what about the restaurant that's got no customers? So we become shareholders of the restaurant. It's the wider community kitchen.
Yeah. The restaurant that has no staff, you get to entertain your friends at a restaurant which you get to run for one night.
Have got concepts like pay what you think the food was worth.
Mm.
We don't have a menu. The chef just prepares what they want on the day. We're viral. Our location changes all of the time. Now, if the people who were designing those restaurants were thinking in traditional ways, they would have said no to those ideas every
That's right.
time. But what they had done is challenge their assumptions. So this is a nice little back of the envelope tool. Jace, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I love the Renovators Delight. If you've ever renovated anything or changed anything or given it a makeover, there's basically 4 questions. What am I going to keep? There must be some parts of this that work. It's not all broken. Well, what am I going to chuck? Is there anything I don't need? Anything I can get rid of or jettison? Is there anything that I want to keep but not in the form that it's in? I want to change it, rethink it, rework it. And is there anything missing that I'd like to add? And what I love about this tool is that by having the conversation first about keep, everybody calms down. Because you know what, the important stuff will be protected. And it's our next session, we're going to be looking at creativity and ideas. What do we need people to do in preparation for our next session?
Okay, so we would love everybody to come to our next session with a target. So if you watched our first video, it's the, knowing what your hamburger is, being really clear on it, and what those pieces of the puzzle are, what the ripples are, what the chains are, anything on there that you've thought, this is what I'm going to solve.
And by the way, if you still don't know what we're talking about, find your hamburger, watch the first video.
Please.
Please,
Okay.
I'm begging you.
Yeah.
So bring your targets. What else do they need?
I'd love them to come to this session having had some ideas, whether it be by themselves or with other people. And what might be really interesting is for them just to come, not to communicate this, but just to have it in their head of what they think an obvious idea might look like, what they think a fantasy land idea might look like. Because at the end of our Imagine workshop, I think they're going to have a completely different idea about what is obvious and what is fantasy.
So they need to bring along enough ideas to kickstart the conversation, but they'll be actually generating ideas in the session with their colleagues as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be great.
Fantastic.
See you there.
Bye.
Bye.